go. Okay. So now that we've talked a little about working and home life, let's talk about fashion and the effects of the Depression hold on your life in women's in the 30s.
Well, the Depression definitely had an impact on the amount of single women in America. During the 30s, especially college-educated women chose to remain single. The number of single women was higher than it had ever been before. This was mostly because women either were committed to a career or academic life, or because the Depression had caused a scarcity of men that were financially able to marry.
So pretty much women were being single to support their careers as well as being
Yeah,
married.
they weren't like, I don't know, like in older times people were more focused on getting married and having children, but as the 30s came around, people were getting more focused on their jobs and education.
Being independent, not using men as their backup. Makes sense. Kind of right after the age of the flapper, did fashion change much this course of the 30s?
Well, compared to the 20s, yes. Because there's definitely a lot of similarities in the fashion of the 20s, but during the 30s, women's fashion returned to more of a feminine look than it had been before, and was more modest.
Because now in the 20s, people were pushing the limits. They were like showing the ankles.
Yeah.
And now we're going back to the more feminine style.
Yeah.
So the skirts became longer and the clothes returned to the natural waistline. The clothes became much more natural. But what about the shoes and accessories?
Well, angled brim hats were a common accessory and were usually worn with short, curled, or bobbed hair.
We have some pictures here too to show you guys about the short hair. I don't know if you can see from this far away, but women wore the wide brimmed hats with short curled hair. Everyone here has short curled hair.
Yeah, and for shoes, they're usually like a simple pump or an Oxford. They're usually leather and lace up.
I see here a lot of nice heels, like short heels.
Yeah.
And very patterned. Very patterned. Everything's here very patterned. Floral. Okay, anyway.
Well, we already mentioned that rock upsizing was introduced, and also at the end of the 30s, like I think it was in like 1939, nylons were invented.
And we all know how women love their nylons. Those are the old ladies. Okay. Okay, so for makeup, is there a big difference between today's makeup and makeup in the 30s?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. Well, pale skin was very popular, and that's what most women wore. They either if they were already pale, they would put pale makeup on. And rouge, which is similar to today's blush, and lipstick were commonly worn to brighten their faces, their already pale faces.
Which is completely different from now. Everyone's like, let's go tanny, let's be super dark. Oh, if you're pale, you're just, ugh.
Yeah.
I got the pale going.
And then another thing in the 30s that you might see a lot being applied at the salon were fake eyelashes. But those weren't for like everyday wear, those were for like
fancy occasions.
Yes.
Well, that seems to be all that we have for right now. But Annie, thank you so much for coming out on our show today. Let's wrap it up by a little game of Pictionary.
Sweet.
It's going to be great. So,
let's do this.
Let's go do this. We got to get our special guest now. I think this is a great time to get him.